Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Sorry for the go to webinar problem, but we're working on it. I don't know, it's links and whatever, but hey, it's good to see everyone. We are streaming this on YouTube, so you'll be able to pick that up as well. Hey, Thomas Kimsey, president of USAF, the nation's largest B&I lender, both in terms of origination and also in terms of purchasing. Are you still secondary market, Thomas?
Absolutely, Bob. It's great to be here today. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday there.
Get yourself to Puerto Rico. There's no cost to attend this event, correct, Thomas?
Oops. Yeah, how many conferences can you go to that are free?
There you go. So you get down there and they'll now you got to pay your own way and you got to pay for your own room, but I think they'll buy you a lunch and they'll give you the format. Hey, tell us about. I'm a big content person. Tell us about the content. What are we talking about and why Puerto Rico? Go ahead.
Yeah, Puerto Rico. We did this summit before a few years ago, and it was a big success.
I was there. It was awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
You guys covered it for us. You recognize the success we had. It's important for the administration as well, for them to provide access to capital down there. So we wanted to go back. It was something they reached out to us about hosting again. We've been working on this for some time and decided we wanted to go back and help provide access to capital there through the USDA. We've got a great lineup of the speakers there. We're excited to have the administrator, Dr. Neal, there for Rural Business Cooperative Services, and Mark Brzezinski as well. And then we're also adding SBA in this year, and really excited to have John Miller join us too. So we feel like we've got a fantastic lineup. Not only get updates on the USDA programs, but as well to add in the SBA piece to it with John and other folks there. The region administrator will be there, and Josue, the state director, as well as Max from the USDA, the state director as well. So we've got a great lineup. We've got other people we're adding as well.
Yeah, this is not a Puerto Rico centric event in terms of lending. This is nationwide, Thomas. Briefly describe the programs that they're going to be discussing that you can fund in your footprint.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're certainly going to be highlighting the flagship, the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program, the REAP. We're really going to try to highlight some clean energy. Again, a priority for the administrations and what we're trying to do. So we're going to highlight that, as well as we'll have Jamie Davenport there for the Community Facility Program too. So we're covering the whole suite of RD programs. So we're excited.
If you can't get there, we're going to be doing a webinar with Thomas and also with the USDA on later this month. That'll be coming up in a slide. I'm a big fan of what you're doing in rural lending. Very quickly, Thomas, what are we talking about dollars amount for next year, for fiscal year that starts October 1? We're talking large dollars and large opportunities for lenders in this niche.
Right. For FY24, we're seeing $1.8 billion budget. There's certainly the need for it. We'd love to see more, but we're happy to get the same allocation as we had last year. We'll continue to work on a regular basis with Congress and the administration to get more funding, but that's where we're set right now. Certainly a pretty good backlog of in the pipeline.
Lance,
I'll leave it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lance, you've had some experience with this program. What is your experience?
I think it has a lot of similarities to an SBA 7(a) loan in terms of packaging and underwriting. The great thing, and Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, you can do bigger deals. Where SBA has a cap of $5 million. Thomas, what's our cap on USDA B&I?
Yeah, that's exactly, Lance, why we like it. We've got that $25 million runway that really gives us a lot of capital there to deploy. And, as well as we can do a combo loan and add a 7(a) in there with us as well, and get up to $30 million on guarantee.
Well, and for the participant lenders that are on the call, the guaranteed portion of a USDA B&I loan can be sold on the secondary market as well, Thomas, correct?
That's right. Get an 80% guarantee, a little higher than the SBA, and the premiums are good as well. So it's a good combination for the lenders.
And I always have to ask the question and the benefit, and how much of that premium do you have to split with the government, Thomas?
Zero.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's no tax over 110, and that is definitely a benefit. Are there, and the rates are similar to to SBA in terms of premiums, Thomas?
They are. They're similar as well. I mean, certainly you have a little different prepay structure, as well as you can do fixed rates that you normally don't do on the 7As. And so that's an added feature. And, the B&I loans are assumable. That's another nice feature. And it doesn't have to be, necessarily an owner-occupied business like the 7A program.
Largest industry niche?
Probably the largest industry niche, certainly a lot of hospitality being done under the program, but we certainly like the manufacturing as well. And then, under the REAP program, we're doing, the renewable energy, the solar type projects.
Yeah, definitely. This is real estate collateral
Right.
mandated. Average guarantee?
It's 80%.
Okay, very good. So it's going to be for 1 day in Puerto Rico. Is that the plan, Thomas?
Yeah, right now we're 1 day, before we did a day and a half, but this one we're going to do a day. We got a full lineup from 8 to 5, and then we'll have a nice reception that night. And then you're free the rest of the time. So it's a good opportunity to come down, network with the leadership, learn some updates, and learn opportunities there. And then certainly you'll be free to go. But
Great. Final question for either you or Lance, and it's great to have SBA's buy-in. It's great to have John Miller there. What is SBA's push? What are their initiatives in rural Main Street?
I think, I'm sorry, Thomas, I think SBA certainly has the same type of initiative, meaning trying to reach underserved markets, which can mean rural markets. So SBA has a similar outreach. Thomas, what do you think?
No, I think so. I mean, I think, obviously the USDA rural development programs are designed for rural America, but I think as well as SBA, they certainly want to provide that capital to rural America. I think that's a pretty bipartisan effort to provide capital to rural America and provide, rural prosperity. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do day in and day out.
Very good. That brochure is attached, I believe, in your handouts. And let's see, yes, it's there. And go ahead and go to the website and register. And they will take care of
You
it.
can go to the National Rural Lenders Roundtable website and register, or call me or email me or call the office. We'll get you signed up. And remember, it is a free event. We'll take good care of you. And the room rates, we do have some room blocks, a small block, but also there are plenty of rooms at great rates and there at the Sheraton or other nearby. But and there are plenty of flights down to San Juan.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Thomas, thanks for stopping by and telling us about the event. I'm a huge fan of it, and good job in putting it together.
No,
Let's shift
thank you.
gears. Thanks, Thomas. Shift gears, Delaney, Sexton. Good to see you, our Fraud Friday extraordinary editor. What are our fraudsters up to, Delaney? No good, it seems.
Well, we can finally say case closed on this one. We've been tracking it from the start and reporting on it. We have Rafael Martinez at MBE Capital Partners, where he was the CEO. And it's safe to say he made some mistakes, which led to 4.5 years in prison, 71 million, I believe, being forfeited, along with 77 million in restitution. So he, at the start of PPP, got a PPP loan for his company. He claimed he had 15 employees, an average monthly payroll of over $100,000, none of which was true. He submitted doctored tax records with forged signatures, and he got about $300,000 in PPP loans. But 5 days later, he then applied to become a non-bank PPP lender with the exact same doctored information and documents. So then later, he also worked with a life insurance company, including these lies, got $100 million as a partnership to get PPP loans to minority and women-owned businesses. Instead, this was used as collateral to borrow $832 million from the Paycheck Protection Program liquidity facility. A little bit of a mouthful.
Delaney, Congress has been all over fraud. And what's interesting is that the fraud is concentrated. There are rings. This gentleman is definitely a ringleader in that. And when they're talking, and Delaney, when they're talking about this, the fraud tends to be concentrated in a number of individuals and companies. So if they're talking about widespread fraud, we know who those people are, and SBA is going after them. And the feds
Absolutely.
And I think this guy ran the full gamut, guys. He got a PPP loan. He became a non-bank lender. It's hard for me to imagine how he became a non-bank lender, but things were moving so fast that that was a possibility. But you're exactly right. A lot of PPP fraud was concentrated in groups. Even the small PPP fraud, there are groups of people that did it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's consistent. Delaney, luxury vehicles. Go ahead. What would drive?
He did go big. He did go big with the $71 million he earned in fees. He got a $10 million villa in the Dominican Republic, a $3.5 million mansion in New Jersey, chartered jet service,
Nice.
a 2018 Porsche, 2017 Ferrari, a 2017 Bentley Continental, a BMW, a 1962 Mercedes-Benz. I'm sure that was a nice car. All of which were taken, of course. So he's not really coming out with much.
It's just it boggles me when we talk about these is the mindset that, hey, I got away with it, and it's going to, the ATM will never stop, and I can get away with this. And Lance, from your experience over the years in collections, that's not true.
No. In fact, all this PPP fraud, there's so many agencies working on it. The people are going to get caught. Congress wants all PPP fraud to be investigated. So it's like there was a cigar ad, Bob, in the old days, and it says like the little white owl. If it hadn't gotten you yet, it's going to get you.
Ooh, boy, go retro. Way to go, Lance. Delaney, you're also following another story, and that's Senator Ernst, as well as the entire Senate Small Business Committee. They took umbrage at the fact that, hey, we're going to ignore fraud. They felt SBA was telling them that we're going to ignore fraud over $100,000. That's not true. In fact, I don't believe that's what SBA represented. But what is Congress doing to go after, as you said, all PPP loan fraud?
Well, as you said, there's been a lot of movement in both the House and the Senate. This has been a constant conversation, but Senator Ernst is a very big character pushing for this. She recently introduced an act that would go after all PPP, Idle, Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and Shuttered Venues Operators grant programs. It would provide funding and strengthen the entities that are going after this fraud, and it would ensure that all loans under $100,000 will be taken care of, whether that's referred to the Department of Treasury or investigated themselves. But I do want to say I frequently see stories, and I tend to not go for these smaller stories, but all the time, every week, there's stories of $10,000, $5,000, $60,000. So these cases aren't being forgotten.
Oh, guys,
or forgotten.
I have witnessed a $700 PPP fraud. So yeah, it's not, we will be hearing about investigation of PPP fraud for quite some time, especially if they are going to go off after everything under 100,000. It'll be around for years.
No, absolutely. And Lance, you made the point that, hey, you questioned why this legislation is even needed, because anything under 100,000 is referred to Treasury anyway.
Well, that's the thing I'm not sure about, because my understanding of the process is once you do a guaranteed purchase, which the lenders will do, there's a button that says, can they be referred to Treasury? And we check yes. And they get referred to Treasury, and that's a very strong collection tool. But the one thing, Bob, is maybe, I don't know, they get a Treasury referral. I can't imagine SBA turning that off. So I think anybody who doesn't repay their PPP loan ends up being referred to Treasury.
Yeah, and as it should. Delaney, and what's going on in the state of Illinois?
Yes, there's a few stories out this week, particularly about Illinois. The Executive Inspector General is going after state employees, dozens of them under different entities and agencies. It seems to be somewhat of a widespread issue, especially just in the Department of Human Services. They confirmed that there were 30 employees in different stages of the disciplinary process for PPP fraud. Together, these individuals made potentially millions of dollars in fraudulent PPP loans. We talk a lot about fraud rings. I don't, as far as I know, necessarily think that these are fraud rings, but I have one other thing. They're in the disciplinary process, which means, you know, a lot of these people are either being fired, they're resigning, or they're somewhere in there. And this is my own musing.
They're going to be
indicted. Will these people still be investigated in that sense, not just removed from the state or state
This sounds like a case of someone got something they shouldn't have, and they started talking and they misrepresented it, and other people jumped on the bandwagon.
And
they now seriously regret. Go ahead, Lance.
The crazy nature of this, guys, is the most common size PPP loan in round 3 was $20,833, because if you were a sole proprietor, that was the max loan. So these people are not only going to be investigated and prosecuted for fraud, but they're going to lose their job. Yeah. Over $20,833.
Real quick, Lance, we had a couple of questions from your webinar on Wednesday. The first question is, Michael, can you bring that up? Has to do with structure of a loan. They're working on a loan of $200,000 that now falls as of August 1st. Definitely, it's a small loan. It was before, but it is another $500,000. They're saying, hey, our normal underwriting for that type of loan without the guarantee would not require ratios or pro forma, and they wouldn't require projections. We use a simplified scoring system. Do they need to create it for SBA? Says Lance.
The way I read the SOP 5010-7 on SBA small loans, which are under $500,000, your underwriting standards are going to be prudent lending standards, which this person answered the question for themselves. They would not do this analysis on a loan of this size as a prudent lending standard, so they're not required to do it on their SBA loan.
Second comment that came in, Lance, I want you to address is, as of August 1st, SBA is blessing eligibility, I guess, as far as to say approving eligibility. And this is the standard response that SBA will give to the lender when asking about that. Lance, what is this about? And tell us what the process is and what they want to accomplish.
Well, of course, in the SOP 5010-7, SBA indicated they're going to use their 19-point data check to make a determination of eligibility on the applicant and on the guarantors. And this just talks about when we're doing a loan, you put the information on the applicant, the information on the guarantors, and SBA performs their compliance checks. And this talks about the status. So once the information is put into ETRAN and submitted, once it's submitted for the compliance check, it'll be the status in compliance review. Once it passes the compliance check, it'll go into an R1 status, which means for a delegated lender, it's going to go ahead and issue a loan number and you're ready to move forward and close. For a GP lender, when it's an R1, then the application information will move on to Citrus Heights, the Loan Guarantee Processing Center for a review, and then potentially issuance of a loan number. regardless of how you're doing it, if it doesn't pass the check, it's going to be withdrawn. And you as a participant lender should get a message as to why it failed the compliance check. And they offered the example, criminal record was found on the business owner with a certain social security number. So then you as a participant lender can choose to just cancel the loan, or you as a participant lender, if you have other information that might resolve the issue, you work with the borrower, and then you can proceed with the loan request by, I mean, typically you would, if you're submitting a GP, you would provide additional information to SBA and move forward. But it just, there's status, this kind of explains the status when you put a loan in for the compliance check.
We'll follow up on this. I want to make sure that the 24 hours is 24 hours, that loans are not being held unreasonably. We'll follow up on this next week. We'll ask audience participation, and if there's any issues, let us know. Yes, we have our SOPs on Amazon, all 3 of them, and they are ready to ship. That's print on demand, so go ahead and take advantage of that. And we're doing a webinar. There you go. Here, we have a new cover. So
Nice.
And then and there's our webinar on rural small business. And finally, real quick, Lance, we're over. I apologize. Give me 30 seconds on the new loan closer training that you just finished.
Well, the SBA loan closer certification training's been around for, Bob, what, 7 or 8 years, and we continually update it to match with the new SOP. Joseph, Michael, and myself have been in working diligently to update everything for the new SOP 5010-7. There's a total of 33 segments, short 10 to 15 minute segments in this training. And it's all updated for the SOP 5010-7. If you're an SBA department manager, get your closers in here. It's also would be good training for other people on your SBA staff, just to develop a good general knowledge of SBA lending and the SOP 5010-7. So get them signed up.
Thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.